Okay, hi, Melissa. Um, I've had a look through your draft and I have highlighted various areas that you're going to need to work on. So, a couple of things. Just, I'm not going to keep pointing it out, but Coca-Cola obviously needs capital C's, so you need to go and check that throughout. Form. Um, this is basically sound, but what you need to be showing your understanding of is Uh, yeah, when you say magazines, what kind of magazines? Again, you've got to be a little bit more specific. Would it be in Fishing Weekly? I don't think so. Would it be in Builders and DIY? No. So you need to just give a few examples of the kinds of magazines that it would have been placed in order to reach its target audience. Now, when you say it would have been used as a poster or a billboard, but also social media and online advertising. But billboards and posters where? Would they be positioned in the middle of the desert? So again, you need to show your understanding that when it comes to form, the choice and the positioning is of utmost importance. Now, this is one of the conventions of advertising is form. So just a little bit more work on that. Purpose. Yes, they both want to sell their product and make money, but that's a little bit simplistic. Go back to the PowerPoint. Advertisements aim to ensure that the target audience remembers the product, and they do that through making and wants to buy it, and they do that through making an emotional connection with their audience. So just show that you understand that. Now you say that the desire that both of these advertisements is sex appeal, but what you need to be doing here is making sure that you're addressing the criteria. KU2, knowledge and understanding the ways in which creators of text use language and conventions. So like you did with your messenger essay, you need to be foregrounding the fact that it is the creators of the advertisement who are using or developing that, building that desire, the desire of sex appeal in their target audience. So just make sure that you keep doing that throughout. Small point, people, remember we're talking about the consumers or the target audience. And in the second advertisement has used her body to mimic the shape of again, foreground the fact that it is the advertisers who are using her body language or positioning her body to mimic the shape of the iconic Coca-Cola bottle. This makes the Coca-Cola seem attractive. Okay, you just need to edit a little bit. Yes, it's meaning that sexy, sensuous curves of Beyonce, which are highlighting the curves of the Coca-Cola bottle, is creating a direct link between the celebrity Beyonce and everything she stands for and the product. Okay, so target audience. These are both targeted young men and women. Even though that is who they are targeted at, they are still aiming to not alienate anyone, as they are trying to persuade as many people as possible to buy their products. All a bit wordy, a bit repetitive. You can just tidy that up. Basically what you're saying is right, but I think you just need to be careful, because I don't think necessarily that the 1960s ad is aimed at young men. And I think both are aimed predominantly at young women. Now, what age group? 12-year-olds? I think we're talking sort of 18 to 25 or 30. And obviously they don't want to alienate anyone else, but that would be their core, their target audience. I think you're right when you say that the Beyonce ad will also attract young men because of that sensual sort of sexiness of Beyonce's curves. But I think this one is more about the fun, and I think it is I think you're right, actually. It could be appealing to young men as well. The idea of sharing Coke together is fun. So actually, I take that back. I think you're right. Just look at the way that you're expressing yourself. Now, again, editing. Both of these advertisements do not have much writing or any information about the product, which means the peripheral route of persuasion is being used to persuade the audience to buy the product. You're just being a bit wordy. Try and be more concise and to the point. Now, instead of saying both of these advertisements do not have much writing, you say neither advertisements or both advertisements have chosen not to have lots of text. Now, you've said route, it's actually route with an E on the end. Make sure that you correct that all the way through. Now, you say that the peripheral route is used as opposed to the central. Younger, less intelligence, or audiences with low self-esteem. I think you need to be careful here because that's a bit derogatory about their audience. All the peripheral route is the use of pathos, really, isn't it? Because it's creating that emotional connection rather than the logical connection, the evidence-based connection. So just because, so I think you need to cut this. Okay, because we're not less intelligent or have low, particularly given that you are probably the target audience, and I don't think you are less intelligent. And I hope you don't have low self-esteem, because you shouldn't, because you're a lovely young lady. Right, moving on. You're repeating yourself here. So just go back here, read it all out loud, and see how you can just tidy it up. You're 2,000, over 200 words over your word limit, so you can tidy this up. Okay, social context. You've talked a bit about, yes, that was good research in the boy leg, scoop neck. But yes, shows they're up to date with the trends of the time. But what you're looking at here, again, go back to the task sheet because it does explain it quite clearly. Does the advertisement support a particular view or imply a certain attitude? What values or cultural understandings are implicit in the advertisement? And I think what really connects these two advertisements is that they're both using attractive young women. So I think what you need to be focusing on here is, yes, they're both very modern for the era in which they're published, which is in line with Coca-Cola's huge marketing budget, etc. You can just read what I've written here. But what about the attitude and values here? They're both using attractive young female beauties to connect with their target audience. So what does that tell you? What values are they promoting? And you need to give a little bit about, instead of the social context have become very popular the past few years, I think what we need to know is why have they chosen Beyonce? Why is she so famous? And what does she represent to the target audience? What values does she represent? And that is why Coca-Cola have chosen her. Why do they want to connect Coca-Cola with those values? And I think we're looking at this idea here of better. Oh, hang on. Yeah. This idea here of better. This is a strong, independent. She's known for. She's not a sort of bimbo. She's strong. Her music is strong. It has powerful messages. That's what they're trying to connect with. Here, I don't think this model is a famous actress. I think she's just a beautiful model. But here, the values that they are promoting is just this idea of fun. So I think that's kind of cool because if you look at the context of the 1960s, it was a time when women were perhaps more stereotyped. There were more clearly defined role models. So in the context of this, perhaps this was a sort of as strong and independent as Beyonce. So I think what you're seeing here is that Coca-Cola is not using is not promoting stereotypical female values, which I think is quite interesting. Have a look, do a bit of research, and you just need to show a bit more of that big picture thinking here in your social context. Okay? Moving on, visual elements. Okay, now again, with your visual elements, you've got to be considering these like the narrative techniques that authors use. These are the stylistic and conventions of the genre. And you have to show your understanding that they are being used by the creators of these texts. So just throughout, just have a look at what you're foregrounding. So instead of saying the colours in both advertisements are fairly similar, what you can say is the creators of both advertisements have used colour in a similar way. Okay, and I want you to look through all of your topic sentences where you introduce a new technical element, and I want you to make sure that you're foregrounding the fact that they are being used by the creators of the advertisement. Now, what you want to be highlighting here is predominant colours being the trademark Coca-Cola red and crisp white background. So those are the brand colours. You need to, why do they do this? Again, because the whole purpose of advertisements is to get you to remember that product. So this is all brand reinforcement. The Coca-Cola red and white is being, they're using the brand colours throughout the advertisements in order to reinforce that brand recognition within their target audience. Remember, they're up against Pepsi and Sprite and God knows what other disgusting fizzy soft drinks are out there on the market. So what they want us to do is just have that red and white sort of emblazoned in our minds so that when we see it, we reach out to buy it. Font, yes, which was skillfully used. Just say, by the creators or by the copywriters or the designers. You can mix it up a bit. To catch the audience's attention. It's not really the font that catches the audience's attention, it's that colour, isn't it? But to convey a certain mood. Now you say that the font is of a similar style but quite different, gives a different feel. That's just too vague. Just go straight in with your analysis, Melissa. What kind of font is it? Why is it different? So you are being a little bit wordy. Okay, in advertisement text, there's a black, simple font. And I think that's probably quite unusual for the 1960s. So you might say that at the time, that would probably have been considered an extremely modern and rarely seen font. I think if you looked up lots of advertisements from the 60s, they wouldn't be using that modern sans serif font. So you need to make it clear that you understand that's a sans serif font, which is synonymous with modernity and which is what they're trying. This is what the modern woman seems to be wanting to drink, which is what is the same with Beyonce. Lowercase. So I think, again, that would have been interesting at the time. And it does convey a fun and light-hearted feel. And how does that, now the effect, how does that reinforce the message of having more fun when you drink Coca-Cola? So that's what you need to add in. Bold white font in all capitals. Yes. So what is the effect of all capitals? Capitals? When you send a text in capitals, what do we use it for? We use it to mimic the idea of shouting or sort of command. But it's a very authoritative use of font choice. So capitals or non-capitals. So this is quite. It has an authoritative effect. Beyonce is all about independence. She's a strong, independent, powerful woman, and those capitals seem to reinforce that message. It's going to cut now.